Hello, beautiful humans. Good to see you. 401 is not. Um, okay, can everybody hear me okay? I'm always worried that when I use my AirPods that it's not going to come through as well. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me before I start rambling. Uh, okay, good deal. Thank you. Hi, guys. Hi, great to see you all here. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I am so excited to have this conversation with you. Josh, I got your initial email, and I know we've gone back and forth a little bit. I apologize to everyone on the planet right now. I am having trouble with my email. I I don't want to bore you with the details. I just have too many email addresses, so I've been trying to consolidate so that things are easier for me so that I don't miss messages and I don't forget to respond to people. And one of my emails just went completely defunct, which is not what I was expecting to happen. And it happened at the worst time because I was trying to organize group coaching and everything. So if you were interested in group coaching and you had signed up for a free group coaching session, but you didn't get the link for the session this morning, it's probably because I'm having email issues. So for now, the very best email is askmegan@gmail.com. And that's Megan with two E's. So it's ask MEEGAN@gmail.com. That's the best place to email me right now until I get everything else ironed out. That being said, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm so happy to see you here. I'm glad you're joining us. I love these Sunday live Q&As. This is a chance for us to connect and to help each other set intentions for the coming week and to help us be more mindful about the way that we're showing up in the world. So if you have a second, please like the episode. Please subscribe to the channel. It really is the best way to support the channel, and it's totally free. If you have the means to become a member, I encourage it, although membership is going to change and look a little different going forward. Wonderful changes are coming. Thank you, Ashley, so much for being here, and thanks for putting that email in the chat for me. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and put it up here. And for those of you who are interested in coaching, one-on-one coaching, you can go to my website at third-verse.com and sign up for a free consult. I always want us to meet each other, to connect and see if I'm the right fit for someone to coach you with the particular thing that you are wanting to work on. And as well, you probably, if you are interested in group coaching, which is a little bit of a different dynamic, there are some things we can do in group coaching that are not as effective one-on-one and vice versa. So if you're wanting to connect with other beautiful human beings who have intentions and goals and want to get feedback and resources from other people, the group coaching is a wonderful option. You can email me at this email address, askmegan@gmail.com, and I will send you a link for a free session. I want everybody to be able to experience it for free before you ever have to commit to paying any money for it. I'm always a fan of giving away free stuff. So I am really grateful to see you guys here tonight. And if you saw by the thumbnail, this is going to change your life today, guys. And I'm so excited to talk about it because I feel like I do talk about a lot of different things, but they all sort of have the same core messages. And I think that focusing on these core messages is really going to improve your quality of life. And it has the potential to really transform humanity. And I know that's like a pretty big claim, but when I meditate and I think about the big problems in the world, which I do pretty often because I have a lot of concern for the human family, I think about what is the one thing that's common to all of those problems. And when I dig down through all the different layers and complicated scenarios of all those things, it really does come down to one thing. And when I tell you what it is, you're probably not going to believe me right off. And if you do, you're probably going to think it's too simplistic. And I will make the caveat that it is simple, but is not easy. And it takes several steps of really concentrated, focused effort to sort of apply this idea to your life. And I'm going to try to give you some concrete examples today, but I would also love to have your participation for anybody who wants to join in and get some specifics about your particular situation. So, hi, everybody coming in. Thank you so much for being here. I love to see so many subscribers here and channel members, and I love seeing new people as well. So, thank you for coming, and I appreciate you participating in the chat, commenting. You guys, this is a really wonderfully supportive chat area and comment area, and I'm really grateful to you guys as a community for being so kind and welcoming to people. Of course, I always welcome disagreements, but I like to keep it to civil discourse. So I love it if you disagree with someone to challenge their argument and not them as an individual. I think it's a very rare occasion here where we have people who are unkind to each other. And I really appreciate you guys for creating that kind of an environment here on the channel. I love that. So what is the one thing? What's the secret? I hesitate to tell you a little bit because, like I said, I don't think you're going to believe me right away. But here it is. Loving yourself better will create more prosperity in every area of your life. And loving yourself better will help you to confront every issue that you're currently facing and come up with an ideal solution. Kindness to yourself, Kimmy Jo. Not just kindness to yourself, but love of yourself. And I don't know, it's a little difficult for me because a lot of people view self-love as selfish. And a lot of people will shame someone for being self-focused because it feels like, oh, all you care about is yourself. And it's actually the exact opposite. Because the more you love yourself, the more you are able to connect with other human beings in an authentic way. Yes, exactly, Lizzie B. Welcome, Mark Crispin. Thank you for subscribing. When we love and accept all the parts of ourselves as lovable and acceptable, we start to see pieces and parts of ourselves in other people too. And that gives us the ability to empathize with them. And if we can empathize with somebody, now empathy is different than sympathy. I love the way Brene Brown describes this. She says that sympathy is saying, oh, bless your heart. It's the version of like, that sucks. See you later. You know, empathy is, oh my gosh, I see that you're sitting on your bathroom floor crying. I'm going to sit down there with you. What's going on? Tell me what's happening. That's empathy. Sympathy is, I see where you are. Empathy is, I've been where you are, and I'm willing to go where you are to help you get out of it. So our ability to empathize with other people is what I believe is going to change the world. Because when we empathize with someone, it humanizes them. It's a connection. Yes, Kimmy Jo, it's a connection with them. It is seeing someone where they are and saying, man, I see a piece of me in you. Even though we're very different, I see how we're also the same. And all of us really are the same as human beings. We all want the same things. I know I've talked about this before. I've spoken to this before. We all want the same things. We all want love and belonging. We all want connection. We all want prosperity for ourselves and the people that we love. That is universally the human experience. And the only difference is that different countries, different cultures, different families have different ideas about how to solve the same problems that we all face in humanity. That's how we ended up with so many different stories about deity, different God stories, different religions, different spiritualities. It's how we ended up with different cultural traditions. It as a means of connecting our families together, and the God stories are a means of understanding our place in the universe and a means of facing our existential fears. And those traditions that evolve out of our family systems and our cultures are ways of us connecting as a community, and the different foods are just different ways of taking what is indigenous to our area and maximizing the things that are the best about the things in our area. For example, the different spices and the different ways of cooking. It's like universally across the world, I think all of us at some point encountered chicken, right? And in South America, there's a way of preparing chicken. In the south of the United States, we have fried chicken. We have chicken cacciatore, which is from Italy. We have chicken Kiev, which is from the Russian area. We have chicken curry, which is from the Indian area. We all have just different solutions to the same problem. And if we're able to see each other as more alike than we are different, it connects us as humanity. And that's the reason why I think that self-love leads to understanding of others, which leads to connection, which leads to when we connect with someone and humanize them, we lose our ability to harm them because we see ourselves in them. And I think that's a really important concept to consider. The other thing that is part of this whole loving yourself better is that you instinctively know already within yourself what you need to heal from your past wounds and to become successful in every area of your life. You know that instinctually. But a lot of times we ignore our instinct or we silence our inner voice because we're afraid of the comments, opinions, feelings of others. And the more that we silence our inner voice and dismiss our first instinct, the more we train our brain to seek comfort instead of prosperity. And let me explain what I mean by that. Our We are hardwired as animals in the animal kingdom, right? Our amygdala, like the survival part of our brain, is hardwired to find us situations in which we will be prosperous, in which we will survive and thrive. And so that's usually our first instinct. But a lot of times our first instinct makes us uncomfortable because it might be different than what other people expect of us, and it might be different than what everyone else is doing, and we're afraid of judgment, and we're living in fear and guilt and shame. So again, that goes back to a self-love issue. When we do that, we're loving the opinions of others rather than loving what's best for us, what's best for ourselves. And so we have to get to that point where we can accept information from other people, but we don't have to accept their opinion of us because their opinion of us is not really about us, it's about them. It's about their experiences, and we are mirrors for each other. So just like I was talking about, we do see parts of ourselves in other people. And when we see a part of someone else that we don't like, it's because we don't like that thing about ourselves. And sometimes that causes us to lash out at that person or to criticize that person for who and what they are because it reminds them of something we're ashamed about in ourselves. So rather than confronting our shame, we project it onto someone else. So that instinct that comes up for us to know what we need to heal and know what we need to prosper, when we ignore the instinct, We say, "Oh, I don't wanna do that. That makes me uncomfortable because so and so is going to shame me or judge me for that." So you just trained your brain instead of answering your instinct, you betrayed yourself in favor of what someone else thought or what someone else needed. So you trained your brain to do that again in the future. And that's why over time, our instincts start to erode, and then we start to have poor instincts and poor values. And when we keep following those poor instincts and their poor values, that's where we get stuck in relationships, in family systems, in jobs, in places that are no longer serving our highest good. And we stay there because our instinct is telling us this is a safe place and we don't want to leave here because it feels familiar, it feels comfortable. And so, what we really have to do is get really good at being uncomfortable. We have to go seek out discomfort so that we can get to the place where we get back to our real true instincts, where our inner voice becomes clearer than the external voices telling us their opinions, etc. Um, I have one more concept about this that I want to, well, actually, two more concepts about this that I want to talk about before I address your wonderful comments. I'm seeing some of them go by, but I'm trying not to get distracted by them. Um, so, what is it that's making us uncomfortable? That's what we have to dig down into. And we have to keep digging until we get to the thing that is the hard truth, the thing that makes us the most uncomfortable. And when you get there, you're going to know it. You're going to know what it is because you're going to be like, oh, that's what it is. It's right. Shoot. I hate that that's true because that means I have to do XYZ to go fix it. So I'll give you an example. I was working with a client this morning who said that she had a fear of public speaking. And it was kind of holding her back from doing what she really wants to do. And the reason this came up is because I'm super excited that I am going to start doing more public speaking. This is the message that I want to share with the world. Like this over the weekend I was like, man, this is my purpose. This is where it all connects. This is where everything comes together. It's like it just solidified in my brain and I just have this vision and I know exactly what I want to do and it feels so amazing. Welcome, Evelyn. Hello, how are you? Evelyn is my buddy here in San Antonio. We met in person for the first time this week, and we had a great conversation. And she's going to come on the show when I figure out when I can schedule it. So I'm super excited about that. So getting down to the hard truth. So I was talking about that I'm going to do more public speaking. In fact, it's what I want to do really full time, along with, of course, this is always going to be part of it, connecting with you, beautiful humans, because that's what I love more than anything. I love hearing your stories and figuring out how the experiences of my past can help plug you into better experiences in the future. It's what I love. Um, so she mentioned to me that she had an opportunity to do some public speaking, but she turned it down because she's terrified of public speaking. So I said, "Why? This is what we're gonna do. I'm like, we're gonna dig into this. We just have to keep asking ourselves why until we get to the hard truth that is the core issue." And she said, "Well, I don't like people looking at me. I don't even really like going out in public very much because I don't like to feel like people are looking at me." And I said, "Why?" She's like this beautiful, gorgeous person. She said, "I really just feel like they're judging me." And I was like, "Why are you afraid of being judged by other people?" She said, "Well, it just makes me feel uncomfortable because I feel like they're watching me, they're judging me. There's a negative thing that they're saying about me." And I said, "Okay, so what you're telling me is that you don't have a fear of public speaking, you have a fear of being judged." And we talked about that a little bit because that really, again, it is a self-love issue. The more that you dig down to the layers, you're going to get to the layer where you say, "Oh, the reason I feel this way is because I don't love myself enough to do X, which is the best thing for me." So I use this example with her of Brene Brown. When Brene Brown gets up and goes to speak in public, I'm sure that there are people in the audience who goes, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Why would they say that? Well, it's probably because either they're envious of her. They're like, I wish I could get up and speak like that. I have important things to share, but they haven't done the work to get where Brene Brown has gotten. And there are other people who will hear her message and say, she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's probably because she just said something that they know is true, but it makes them uncomfortable because then they have to confront their own shame over that issue. So rather than confronting their own shame, they project that shame back onto Brene Brown and they dismiss that truth because it makes them feel bad about themselves. So other people's opinion is none of our business, because it's not about us. Like, someone else's opinion of me has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them. The way we see other people is the way that we see ourselves. You see how what I was saying before kind of comes back into this as well. It's like our ability to empathize and connect with people is the same thing that makes us disconnect from people when we are not our authentic selves, when we haven't addressed our own shame. And so I think it was Schopenhauer that said, we become our true selves more when we make everyone else our true selves. In other words, he's saying that the best way to become our most authentic self is to see our authentic self or our true self or our highest self in other people, seeing the good qualities in other people that we admire and want to emulate, and then incorporating that into who we truly are as well. So it's this interesting intersection of self-love, empathy, connection, and discomfort initially, because that digging down, asking those hard questions, that's hard to do. So what this person this morning was telling me, the hard truth is that she loves the opinions of other people more than she loves herself. That's a really hard thing to hear. It's a hard thing to grapple with, and it's a hard thing to admit. Why is it that I care more about someone else's opinion than I do about my own? And sometimes it's because we've lost the ability to follow our good instincts. Our instincts have diminished because we've betrayed ourselves too many times. That's the hard truth. The hard truth is that ignoring your instincts, ignoring your inner voice is a self-betrayal. And we have to admit that and call it that in order to give it the weight and importance that it needs so that we can then go change it. So this is all still, I'm connecting these dots and pulling these things together, but I don't yet have the most logical, cohesive way to present it. So I appreciate you guys being my guinea pigs, because as I've been developing these ideas, the universe has been resonating these ideas back to me in the writings and teachings of other people. And I have felt sort of inundated with messages from the universe about this. So I'm trying to incorporate them all and pull them all in the best way that makes the most sense to other people. So you have to keep asking yourself why to get to the hard truth at the center of it. And you have to sit with the discomfort of continuing to ask the why question, because it's going to get uncomfortable. It's like the more you dig down to the earth's core, it's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter. And eventually it's going to be too hot and you're not going to like it. It's going to be really uncomfortable. So leaning into discomfort is difficult, so worth it. Everything that you want is on the other side of discomfort. That's something that I wrote in my book, I Walked Through Fire to Get Here. It's the story of how I healed from trauma, from childhood trauma. And it's one of the few little nuggets in there that still really resonates with me. I wrote the book such a long time ago during my healing journey that I look at it now and I'm like, it's cringy because I'm a million miles away from that. But it's a really good introduction to healing if you haven't started that process yet. So I'm going to get to the final thing. I'm almost there. And I'm going to go ahead and look back through the comments just a little bit and address a couple of questions and things like that. Um, Thank you guys for being here. I love seeing this community come together. Really appreciate you. I'm going to put this up. This is my best email right now. If you've used another one in the past, it's totally okay. It's just that I'm having issues getting connected and getting all of my messages from those other two emails. And so before I had Megan at third-verse.com, which is still a good email, but I feel like I'm not getting all my messages there. So anyway, this is the best one for right now. I love to, hi, Robin. Good to see you. I love to see everyone greeting each other. Lovely. Smiling Jacks 83. I get told I over empathize. Do you think this is a thing? Well, it depends on what you're doing with the empathy. So there is such a thing for us empaths who that's like our superpower. Connecting with other people is our superpower. Sometimes we start absorbing the negative energy of other people, and because we don't have good enough boundaries around our empathy. And so we as empaths have to be really careful about having good boundaries and knowing what our limitations are and seeking solace and giving ourselves permission to be alone so that we can recharge. And we have to be really careful about negative energy. So this is where, because people know that we're empathic and we're compassionate, sometimes they will like trauma dump on us at a time when we're already sort of at a low energetic battery. And that will just like drain us even more. And then we don't have enough to give to other people. So that's why you do, as someone who empathizes, you do have to have a good boundary and you have to know your limitations and you have to be able to say, yeah, I don't have space for that right now. I'm so sorry. It's where I encourage people, especially the people that are my priority relationships in my life. Those are the ones I want to reserve the most energy for. And so I know that coaching, podcasting, lives like this, connecting does take a certain amount of energy for me. And I know exactly how much energy I have for this stuff to still have enough in my reserve to prioritize the important relationships in my life, like my kids and my partner and all of those things. So I have good boundaries around how much coaching I do, how many lives I do, how long the lives are, what the topic is. And I also have boundaries around the other relationships in my life that I know take energy from me. And so I just give myself a limitation, and I don't need to tell people necessarily what my boundaries are or how much time. Like, I only have 5 minutes for you, dude. Um, I just sort of take it as I'll connect with someone, they will need some of my energy. I will give them as much as I have for that person. And then I will say, I really love connecting with you. I'm feeling my energy being depleted and I need to end the conversation for now. Let's pick up again another time. Those kinds of things. Just setting compassionate boundaries for yourself and not being afraid to tell people that you have that boundary. And also, you don't owe anybody an explanation either. So your level of explanation needs to match the value of that person in your life. And I was thinking about this yesterday because my daughter had a choir concert. She made the region choir. So I went to go see her perform. And when her performance was over, I left the auditorium because I had more important things to do with my time than to listen to other people's children sing. So I went out into the lobby to listen to the podcast I was listening to and take some notes. And what came to mind was that a lot of my former colleagues from when I was a teacher were there in the auditorium. And I wanted to consider if I wanted to connect with any of them before I left. And I thought to myself, yeah, there are certain colleagues I would love to connect with, but there are others I don't want to connect with. And what if those I don't want to connect with come up to me and try to take my time? And I was trying to think of what's a compassionate response that also honors me. And the thing that I came up with is that I don't want to take the time and energy to craft a response that is going to make them feel more comfortable because they're a person that never made me feel comfortable interacting with them. And so I don't feel like I owe that person even an explanation or a word at all, not any words, because our level of connection is way down here. Then there are people that I like, I'm friendly with, but I don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time with them, if that makes sense. So I'm perfectly happy to say hello, ask, how are you doing? Is everything going well in your life? You look wonderful. That kind of interaction is enough for that level of friendship, right? So I sort of have different levels of connection depending on the circumstance and depending on the person in my relationship with them, if that makes sense. So sorry, that was a long-winded explanation about boundary setting for people who over empathize or for people who feel obligated to give people their time, attention, and energy. Thank you for saying this, Lissy B. I love internal family systems therapy. It is brilliant for self love. I have an episode on my podcast called Self, where I talk about the work of Dr. Richard Schwartz, who is the psychiatrist, psychotherapist who developed internal family systems as a healing modality. And it's been really important to my healing. And I really love that system as well. Renee Michelle, good kudos to you, man. That's an accomplishment. Aggressive exercise works miracles for me as well, because if you haven't read The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk, we store our experiences in our cells, and we really do need a physical outlet to help us heal from those negative experiences. For me, it's weightlifting. You just have to find something that wears you out physically, because sometimes our ability to function physically protects us from digging into the really uncomfortable things that are happening with us emotionally. And when we wear ourselves out physically, we lose the ability to put those protections in place. And so sometimes when I was doing a particularly difficult workout, that's when some of my past hurts, wounds would come up and show themselves to me. And I would go, oh, that's why I'm feeling this way. And so even though it was uncomfortable and it hurt and I didn't like it, it was necessary, because I don't want any of the parts of myself to be in the shadow anymore. I want them to come out and show me who they are and show me how they got to be the kind of part that they are. And then also show me what they need for me to heal those parts as well. So good kudos to you, Renee, and to all of you who are doing hard physical work, because it's going to help you heal so much. Digging down to the why. Yes. Hi, everyone. Hi. Thank you so much for being here. And thanks for saying hi in the chat. I always, it seems like we have a good core group of chatters, and I always love to see new people coming into that chat. So I appreciate it. Black Widow, thanks for saying that some of us are conditioned that way from childhood. I put my empathy in a box mentally if it's going to harm me, if that makes sense. And that is a good thing to do. If you're in a place where you don't have the energy to connect with people, yes, put your empathy in a box and let it come out at a different time when you have more time and space for that. I love that idea. Okay, how do you learn to love yourself? Well, I love that you asked that question, Johnny, because that is the last thing that I'm going to address today. And it might be the most difficult thing, because it is a practice. It's something that you have to practice doing. So, Davis, hi, how are you? Yeah, smile is sufficient and move on. There are some people I don't want to smile at, though. I don't even have the energy of a smile for certain people. Now, it's a very small group of people, because there are very few people that I don't think are worth a smile. I think almost everybody is, but if there is a person who has actively harmed me in some way and has made no attempt to repair, I don't even have a smile for you. Sorry. Okay. Put up your cell phone and say hello, Auntie Rosie. Oh, and give sorry face and walk away. LOL, my friend taught me this. Yeah, I love that. I love that approach. Like, oh, I've got something else more important to do. I have an appointment is my favorite response to like things that I don't want to do. It may be that like I appreciate you so much as a friend, but I have plans to do nothing this Saturday and recharge my battery, and you want me to go to some kind of social gathering, and I'm like, oh, I have an appointment. And that's all the explanation that's needed, if you feel like you even need to give an explanation. This is a great question, and it is a whole separate topic that I could talk about for a really long time. What are ways you can set boundaries even with family without seeming rude or passive aggressive? If you, especially if you've been accused of being passive aggressive, that can feel really, really bad to set a boundary. Again, I come back to that idea that you don't owe anybody an explanation, and explaining yourself to someone is a form of giving them some of your energy. So if it's not a relationship that you really value, then you don't need to give an explanation. And sometimes setting boundaries with family looks like setting the boundary, but not telling them that it's a boundary. Because when you tell them, that invites a whole nother discussion about whether or not they like the boundary, whether or not they want the boundary, which trust me, they don't, and them shaming you for having a boundary. So you don't need to explain your boundaries to your family members. And a lot of times, quiet quitting is a good answer. Just not answering the phone call, not answering the text message, not responding, especially if they're being rude or disrespectful to you. You deserve to be treated with kindness and respect. And when you're not being treated with kindness and respect, you don't need to respond or engage. So, again, boundary setting is another whole topic that we will talk about another time. It's on my list of things to cover. And it's something that, again, it's a practice. We're not always going to do it perfectly or get it right. But again, it does come back to self love. You have to love yourself enough to set a boundary that is the most loving thing for you, not the thing that honors the experiences and feelings of other people. And I'm going to give you an example from my own life because I think it addresses a lot of these different things. And then I will talk about how you love yourself. So again, I'm just going to pause to say thank you for being here. Please like the episode. Please share it with someone who needs to hear it. That's a great way to support the channel as well. Of course, always subscribing is wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate you, beautiful humans. Yeah, give yourself permission to not smile and not be polite if you don't want to. You don't owe people anything unless you value them, unless you value their friendship, unless you value their contribution to your life. Um, yeah, none of the calls were real. You just, yeah. And I also have a thing. I had a thing with my daughters, especially, but also with my sons, just because daughters tend to be told more often that they should be nice and that they should be kind and that they should be caring, even in situations that harm them. So I had this deal with my daughters that if they were ever in a situation where they needed to use me as an excuse to get out of the situation, that they would just text me a capital X, and I would immediately call them and say, "I need you to come home right now. Set up a plan right now. Like, where are you? I'm coming to get you right this second." So that way they could say, "Oh, my mom is being so rude. She wants me to come home right now. She's coming to get me. She's really mad." Just because I wanted to be their person that they called anytime that they had a problem like that. And I was like, I don't care what time of day or night it is. And I would do the same thing now today, even though they don't all live with me anymore because they're older. Um, Destiny says, this is kind of where I am with my caregiver. I don't even have time to acknowledge her because of how she acts towards me. And just saying out loud to yourself, especially while you're looking in the mirror, I am deserving of kindness and respect. That makes it easier for you to say it out loud to other people. So, um, yeah, thank you, Tina Rin. Exactly, Megan. If they're not in the boundary placing mindset, they're going to push back. My sisters do this all the time, even though 4 years of yeah, because they've lost their access to you. They've lost their ability to control you. And that what they want is for that access and control to come back. So they don't want your boundaries. They want you to just this is a great question. Thank you for asking this, Condodo. What's the difference between self-love and narcissism? Self-love is valuing yourself and your experiences as much as you value other people and their experiences. Narcissism is seeing only your good qualities and none of your bad qualities, and seeing only other people's bad qualities and none of their good qualities. So it has to be a balance, right? Where you see all of your good qualities and all of your bad qualities, and you don't give weight or emphasis to either. You just see it as one whole. So when we focus too much on our good qualities and focus too much on other people's bad qualities, that's out of balance. And that's where narcissistic tendencies and behaviors start to come in because we think that we're better than everyone else. Self love is not, I'm better than everyone else. Self love is, I'm the same as everyone else. We all have strengths and weaknesses. We all have things that we're working on. Self love is prioritizing what's best for you over what's best for other people. And so I'm going to give you this example from my own life. I just want to make sure I always want to highlight every comment, talk about every comment, but I'm really trying hard to keep this to 1 hour because I have other things that I need to get done today. Hey, Mixed Funky, always great to see you. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, Martha. Yeah, dreading the holidays because that's where some people like tend to have boundaries go out the window. And this is a great conversation for us to have heading into the holidays is the boundary conversation. So we're going to get to it pretty quickly here because people tend to value connecting with family even when it's not healthy for them. And I definitely don't want anybody to do that. Yes, I'm planning on peaceful holidays this year too. This year and every year. Just peaceful. I just want to be with the people that treat me with kindness and respect. So here's the example from my own life. I have not told this story publicly before. So it gives me a little bit of anxiety in a good way that I know I need to say it out loud. And so I'm going to. Here goes. I was employed by a man who used to be my friend, and I was friends with his wife. And there was a friend group of us that were all friends together, and this man sexually harassed me. Then he apologized pretty quickly after it happened, and I believed that his apology was sincere. My first instinct, especially prior to the apology, thank you, Josh, kind of you, was to immediately report him to the Texas Workforce Commission and to immediately leave the job. That was my first instinct, and to follow the advice of my attorney, who is an employment attorney. But I didn't do that. I rationalized that I needed a job because I didn't have much savings. I had a bunch of debt, and I wasn't in a position to be able to float for very long without this job. So I literally needed a job if I wanted to provide for my kids. My biggest fear when I got divorced was that I was not going to be able to provide for my kids. And so that fear stayed with me. I was acting out of that fear, saying that like my kids need me to have this job. I also was an officer of the company. So I was considering the impact to the company if I made this report and followed it through to its logical end. I also was considering my friendship with this person, which I didn't think could continue after this is over unless I accepted his apology and tried to move forward and repair afterwards. And then I also considered my friendship with his wife, who was my friend. And I knew that if I exposed him, that probably his relationship with his wife and his children would also suffer, and that would impact my relationship with them at all. And it felt very complicated to me at the time. So it felt to me at the time like the most peaceful thing that I can do is to accept the apology and to attempt to repair my feelings about how it happened, because I firmly believe that my trauma brain just came in, and I'm going to give myself a second to reset because my trauma brain likes to dismiss ideas that threaten the trauma staying intact. I'm sorry, you guys. I was about to share with you an important truth that I believe, so I'm gonna have to rewind a little bit. Oh, I was saying I was going to heal my trauma on my own because I believe that, and I think this is true, when we go through an experience that harms us and or that wounds us, it's not the experience itself that caused the harm. It's the story we tell ourselves about who we are as a result of the experience. And that's why two people can go through the exact same experience and one comes out with PTSD and the other one doesn't. One comes out with severe negative emotions about it and the other one doesn't, because one was more emotionally resilient than the other, and the other told themselves a story that the reason this happened to me is because I'm not worthy, or the reason this happened to me is because I'm not powerful, or the reason this happened to me is because I did something wrong. There's something flawed in me. And so we tell ourselves that negative story about ourselves, and then that causes us to engage in more negative reinforcing behaviors. Again, it comes down to a self love problem. We don't love ourselves enough to believe that we're worthy, that we're powerful, that we're deserving, all of the good things, right? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mix Funky. I understand you so much. Yes, like we're not lovable, like we're not worthy of love, we're not worthy of belonging. Um, and so if you'll notice, all of those rationalizations that I was making about staying in that situation that harmed me were about other people. None of them were about me. And the most loving thing that I could do for myself was to make the choice to hold that person accountable, because the burden of keeping that secret drained my energy so much that I had trouble getting out of bed in the morning. I had less energy available for my children to connect with them. I had less energy available for my partner to connect with him. I had less availability in general because I was so sapped of energy that I was sleeping longer. I needed more sleep. I needed more time to recharge. I needed more alone time. I needed more time with my therapist. I needed more time journaling. All of that to get over the trauma that I created for myself of betraying myself in that moment, rather than listening to my first instinct, which was to do the most loving thing for myself. So I hope that you can see that me following my first instinct would not have been selfish in this situation. And it's okay for me to put my children's needs behind my needs in this situation because I was less of a good mother. I thought I was prioritizing them, but I wasn't. I was devaluing them by not prioritizing myself. Whew, that's powerful, you guys. When I don't prioritize myself, I devalue the other priority relationships in my life, because then I have less to show up for those people. So when we love ourselves enough to do the thing that is the most loving thing for ourselves, and to choose our own well being over the experiences of other people, that is the highest and best good that we can do. And it creates prosperity in our lives. It creates healing. It creates connection. It creates everything that's missing from our lives that we think is missing. Because really, you guys, nothing is missing. It's like I said, you already have everything inside you that you need to heal. You already have it. You instinctually know it, but we ignore it because it feels uncomfortable, because other people tell us a story about us that's not true, and we believe it instead of believing ourselves. So back to Johnny Shepherd's question. It's the $10 billion question. How do we love ourselves more? It's simple and it's also hard. It's the same things that you would do to try and love a significant other. What do you do when you have a new relationship? What do you do when you first meet somebody that you really care about and you like them? You connect with them over the things that you like about them. You tell them what you like about them. And at first, it's like, how were love letters born? Well, love letters were born because when we meet somebody that we really connect with and we love things about them, we want to tell them, we want to tell them all the things that we love about them. So we write a love letter and we say, these are all the things I love about you. And then we describe their qualities in flowery language. And why do we write it instead of saying it in person? It's because we're a little bit scared of rejection. We're a little bit scared if we put our deepest feelings out there on the paper that they're not going to reciprocate or feel the same about us. And it's the same reason we don't write love letters to ourselves, because we're afraid of being rejected and betrayed by ourselves. Because we've been rejected and betrayed by ourselves in the past. Every time that we've ignored that instinct to love and care for ourselves before we love and care for other people. So if we loved ourselves, if we want to love ourselves more, we need to write ourselves love letters. We need to write letters to our past self and to our future self and to ourselves right now. We need to tell ourselves more often what we love about ourselves. We need to say to ourselves more often, I didn't handle that in the best way, and it's okay. I understand. It's okay. We need to look at ourselves in the eye more often and say, I love you. I'm proud of you. It's what we would do for our children. It's what we would do for our significant other. It's what we would do for anybody else in our life whose relationship we value. It's so hard to do at first. But once you get the hang of it, it gets easier and easier and easier. And I'm not going to lie, you guys, I've been doing this for, oh my gosh, 8 years or so. And at first it was really, really hard. It does get easier, but I still cry every time I do it. And why do I cry? Because it's beautiful to connect with myself in that way. It's beautiful to tell myself the things that I needed to hear but never got told by the people who should have told me when I was younger. That's why it's hard, because we're afraid of that rejection from ourselves, and we're telling ourselves things that other people should have told us long ago but never did. So loving yourself more, developing self-love looks like looking yourself in the mirror, looking yourself in the eye, telling yourself that you're proud of yourself, that you love yourself, and why. Not just saying I love you, but this is why I love you. Going back and telling your former self, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. You did not deserve it. Because when this happened to you, here were all of the wonderful, beautiful qualities that you had. And when it happened, that's what you needed to hear instead of what you heard. And this is the perfect example of this black widower. My mom told me I was ugly all the time, and it's hard to override that because it's easier to believe the bad stuff than it is to believe the good stuff. So I would write a letter to younger you, black widower, and I would say, I'm so sorry that your mom told you that you were ugly. You did not deserve that. You were a beautiful child. And your mom told you that because your beauty threatened her. And that's a terrible thing for a mother to do. So developing love for yourself will help you have empathy and compassion for others. It will help you connect with others, and that will heal the world. Here's the letter that I wrote to myself, because in group coaching, our homework for last week was to write a letter to one version of ourselves, and you could choose. It could be younger you, it could be present day you, it could be future you. And I decided to write a letter to present day me, and this is what I wrote. Dear Megan, I'm so proud of you for doing the work you needed to do to set up group coaching. I know how important it is to you to have meaning and purpose in your work. It's inspiring to see that your mission of using your pain to help heal others is demonstrated in what you are doing. I know sometimes it's discouraging when the process of building and growing is slower than you want it to be, but seeing you trust yourself shows me how far you've come. You are doing great things, and I love you. Love, me. And I cry because I didn't get these kinds of words of encouragement from people in my life in the past, and I didn't realize that I could just do it for myself. It's part of how I overcame the feeling of loneliness, of disconnection, of feeling unseen and unheard. Now I see myself. Now I hear myself. I say the words out loud because saying it out loud is so important. The words that you say and the way that you say them to yourself matter so much. So if you're plagued with negative self-talk of telling yourself, "Oh, that was so stupid. Oh, why did I do that? I'm a moron." Stop it. Stop and tell yourself, "We all make mistakes. It's okay. We'll do better next time. I'll do better next time. You'll do better next time." Look yourself in the mirror, give yourself a high five, and say, "I'm here for you. You're going to kill it today." Um, Mel Robbins talks a lot about that. In fact, she just wrote a book called The High Five Method, and I really love that. It's self-love is so important, and I really do believe that it's going to heal the world. I think that what you heard today is so valuable and important that I wouldn't stand on a stage and say this for less than $50,000. Like, that's how important I think this is. I give it to you, beautiful humans, because you're part of this community and I care about you. So there you go. Giving you that. So Destiny, I don't know what link. I may have to email that link. Oh yeah. Yeah. um, I appreciate you guys so much for being here. I would love to hear from you if there's anybody who wants to share something or put something beautiful out here into the community. Words of encouragement. I love seeing you guys encourage each other in the chat. Thank you so much for that. I love the opportunity to be able to hone my message here in this community because it helps me to have the words that I know are going to be powerful for people to hear. And your responses, hearing how it resonates with you, empowers me to understand that I'm in the right place. I'm on the right mission. Like, this is where I belong. This is what I was born to do. Oh, and it feels like a heavy burden sometimes because I realize that stepping into power, I realize that takes that gives me the responsibility of owning and possessing that power and living up to that power and sharing that message and prioritizing doing that. And sometimes it's a hard thing to do, but I really appreciate you guys being here. I had an intention to end at 5 o'clock, so I want to thank you guys again for being here. And please share this message. Just give it freely to people. Giving people the things that are important to us, I think shows people how much we love and care about them. So, and we've talked about this before on my channel. Our parents grew up in an era when it was wrong to tell your children how loved and valued. They thought that they would spoil us. That's right. Spare the rod, spoil the child. And now I believe that, yes, self-love is a gift we can give ourselves, counteracting the lies we were taught as children. And I really appreciate everything that you guys contribute to to the channel and to each other with your comments. If you're watching this on replay, I would love to hear in the comments which part of this message resonated the most with you. And if there's a perspective I'm not considering or something that I'm getting wrong, I would love to hear that too. I'm a perpetual learner. I always want to learn from the experiences of other people. And again, I am not a professional of any kind. I am a professional in solving my own problems and healing my own wounds. And I share those solutions with you because I care about the human family. So please find ways to be good to each other. But most important, and this is why I always sign off this way, be good to yourself. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you again soon.